We say, welcome back to the choir. Welcome back. So, and join in if you want to hop into the choir 10 o'clock. So, anyway, the Discovery Book Club has some interesting books. Everybody's welcome to join in. And I noticed this week, it came to me that both books are kind of challenging right now. So we have a book coming up, and then we have another book after that. We're trying to schedule two just to maximize time to read. So the first book is called Solito, and we're going to discuss it in a couple of Sundays, September 21. So I was reading that book, and it's hard to read for different reasons. The topic is, it's a memoir of a 9-year-old boy in El Salvador, journeying to reunite with his parents in the United States. So, like, the topic is heartrending, and it's also, fraught right now in our political system. So it's a hard read. And remember, you can come to book club even if you haven't read the book. So we do like to have books that are maybe challenging and get us thinking, and have real world backing and or lived experience. So I thought, I'm going to take a little break from Solito, and I'm going to read the fluffy book. That is the next book in the queue. So the fluffy book is also a memoir, and it's a memoir by a big TV star, Matt Perry. So Matt Perry starred in the super duper popular TV show called Friends. So a lot of people have seen the TV show Friends, and Matt Perry became mega famous. Chandler Bing, super charming, funny character, great actor. So that's what he looks like. And so he has a memoir. So I'm like, you know what? I'll pause Solito. I'll read something fluffy for a while. So yes, there's fluffy aspects, excuse me, of Matthew Perry's life. But what else is in his life? Addiction. So the title of his book is Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. And he is not kidding about the big terrible thing. So, warning, a lot of the book is his battle with substance abuse disorder or substance use disorder, a mental health disorder, a brain disease that unfortunately we have treated for too long as a moral failing, but it is a brain disease that we're always learning more about. And my goodness, this person really had it all. Talent, a good spirit, looks, and lots of money and fame and popularity. So incredible. You read his book and you just think, I don't want to be that person. His life was so full of misery and pain that just got worse and worse. And it wasn't just one substance. It was multiple substances, and he bounced in and out of rehab and sobriety, and he bounced into relapse and further darkness, pain, and misery. So it is a hard read, and I am reading it as a learner so that I can understand just how terrible substance abuse is. So Friday night, I was about at the 75% mark of reading the book, and there's a little episode in the book I'd like to share with you. And I'm going to read it, an excerpt. It's an extended excerpt. It's written in his own words, and you are welcome to follow along. I know it's tiny print, but I'll have it there. So this is what he says in this one episode. So he has had ups and downs and terribleness and misery, and so he's in another floor beneath the floor of terrible misery. And in the midst of terrible, horrible pain, he decides, just out of the depths of him, he decides to pray. So far has not been a terribly religious book. So he prays. In his own words, I'm going to read now. God, please help me. Show me that you are here. God, please help me. As I prayed, a little wave in the air transformed into a small golden light. As I kneeled, the light slowly began to get bigger and bigger until it was so big that it encompassed the entire room. It was like I was standing on the sun. I had stepped on the surface of the sun. What was happening? And why was I starting to feel better? And why was I not terrified? The light engendered a feeling more perfect than the most perfect quantity of drugs I'd ever taken. Feeling euphoric now, I did get scared and tried to shake it off, but there was no shaking this off. It was way bigger than me. My only choice was to surrender to it, which was not hard because it felt so good. The euphoria had begun at the top of my head and slowly seeped down throughout my entire body. I must have sat there for 5, 6, 7 minutes, filled with it. And for the first time in my life, I was in the presence of love and acceptance and filled with an overwhelming feeling that everything was going to be okay. I knew now that my prayer had been answered. I was in the presence of God. Bill Wilson, who created AA, was saved by a lightning bolt through the window experience where he felt he was meeting God. This was mine. I started to cry. I really started to cry. That shoulder-shaking kind of uncontrollable weeping. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because for the first time in my life, I felt okay. I felt safe, taken care of. Decades of struggling with God and wrestling with life and sadness, all was being washed away like a river of pain gone into oblivion. I had been in the presence of God. I was certain of it. And this time I had prayed for the right thing. Help. Eventually, the weeping subsided, but everything was different now. I could see color differently. Angles were of a different magnitude. The walls were stronger, the ceiling higher, the trees tapping on the windows more perfect than ever. Their roots connected via the soil to the planet and back to me. One great connection created by an ever-loving God. And beyond a sky, which had before been theoretically infinite, was now unknowably endless. I was connected to the universe in a way I had never been. I stayed sober for 2 years, based solely on that moment. God had shown me a sliver of what life could be. God saved me that day, and for all days, no matter what. He had turned me into a seeker, not only of sobriety and truth, but also of God. God had opened a window and closed it as if to say, now go, earn this, go after it. Then Matt notes that there could have been other explanations, and he could have been tempted to say, oh, that really didn't happen. But quickly, he says, I return to the truth of the golden light. When I am sober, I can still see it. Remember what it did for me. Some might write it off as a near-death experience, but I was there, and it was God. And when I am connected, God shows me that it was real. Little hints like when the sunlight hits the ocean and turns it into that beautiful golden color, or the reflection of sunlight on the green leaves of a tree, or when I see the light return to someone's eyes when they come out of the darkness into sobriety. And I feel it when I help someone get sober, the way it hits my heart when they say thank you, because they don't know yet that I should really be thanking them. So that's the end of the excerpt. Why did it come to mind today? First of all, back to Acts 17. At the beginning of the story where Paul goes into the city of Athens, he feels distressed. And that human feeling of distress is a real one. We can feel distress when we feel unworthy or having mental health problems, or when we see things that we don't know what to do with, distress. So I was meditating this week on Paul's distress. And his particular distress was for the society he found himself in. The distress that people in this educated, well-ordered society of Athens, their fixation was still on, what we symbolize today as a golden calf. Uselessness, just useless, pointless things were valued and lifted up. And he just felt so distressed about that. That's what they're after here in this high culture with so much learning and so many opportunities. And that's what they're after? A golden calf? Ugh, how distressing. How do you break through to such a thing? And I have to admit, I feel like that sometimes in our culture. I like to think I understand God. A God of loving, ever-lovingness, the way Matt Perry described. I feel like I know a God of acceptance, which he described as the light. I feel like I know that God, but I feel so distressed. Like, how do I share that in our culture? A culture where I often just feel irrelevant. People don't care about church. People have a terrible experience of church. People come up with all manner of excuses. It's so distressing. So, and I think, what method, what tactic, how is our voice, my voice, useful in this very distressing culture? So, taking a lesson from either Paul or Jesus or Matt Perry, be prayerful. I shared my distress with God this week. It's just so distressing. Is the answer what happened to me on Labor Day afternoon? I was out, was it late afternoon or early evening? I just wanted some quiet time. I went out to take a walk, and a small SUV pulled up alongside me. The window rolled down, and it looked like a 12-year-old, but I'm sure he was pushing, probably 18 to 20, called out to me, "Have you been saved by Jesus Christ? I'm a missionary." So, yes, I laughed. Yeah, I was with Jeff. We're like, oh, how do you respond to this? How do you respond? On the one hand. But on the other hand, it's like, well, he's trying, Am I chicken? Am I chicken? But I think that method doesn't work. It's not our witness. It is not our flavor. And not to say that that's wrong and we're right. There's many different ways to quote witness, to share our experience. So, but what is it for us? We're mainline Protestants, part of a Presbyterian, PCUSA tradition, theology. Oh, we have so much good news, love, acceptance, an amazing God and amazing people who know the love of God and know that all are worthy and accepted. We have this incredible potential in a distressed society. So I still feel distressed. But the thing that came to me in my distress, and I have my little spirituality things I do where I feel like I connect with God. I take my distress, ask God for help. And the word I heard back from God was, God always gives new tools. God always gives new tools. God always gives new tools. I just found that incredibly stress alleviating. God gives me new tools. Am I going to trust God or not? Am I going to allow God to provide for me? God gives us new tools. Discovery. God gives us new tools. Another thing I've been thinking about is that word good news. What is good news? So it's in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament, it's a phrase. What is good news? But if I go and say to somebody on the street, I have good news for you, have you been saved by Jesus yet? There's so much presumption there, or there's so much like, what do you mean by that? And I think Presbyterians, we're the ones that kind of think through things. That's our brand. And I was thinking through what is good news, and there's new ways to appropriate it, to interpret it, to think about it. And one phrase that came to me this week was good news is the healing truth. Good news is the healing truth. Good, it's healing. News or a message, it's truth. It's a healing truth. And in this era of, oh my gosh, is the word hoaxed totally overused? I'm so tired. Can we just ban that word? We're swimming in a society of like, what is even true? And, we have different truths. That's distressing. But you know what? I believe in a healing truth. I believe in a healing truth, not a truth that knocks you down, not a truth that says you're less than worthy. A healing truth. That's the good news. And maybe that's a good phrase to use to navigate. What's the healing truth? In conflict, in misunderstanding, in problem solving, what's the healing truth? What's the healing truth here? A helpful truth that helps people. Another part of Matthew Perry's experience was, how did he experience God? It was a visual thing. What did he see? He saw light. And I thought, my goodness, that's kind of like our thing right now is light. So we have a lighthouse here. And our lighthouse represents the light of Jesus Christ. A beacon that goes out amid the boulders, any boulders, the boulders of distress, the boulders of mental health barriers, the boulders of things that just aren't true. There's so many boulders in life, but yet God gives us light in Jesus Christ. God gives us new tools. God gives us new light. And we are symbolizing that light of Jesus, that it goes out and it lands. We use baptism as a symbol of Christ manifesting light for every single person. It's a personal thing that God gives us light, each person. And then you saw the third move in our liturgy. We had personal light, and that is the light of Christ within us. So we are healed, and then we have also the capacity to help others sober up. And we find God in that too. So I just encourage us to have confidence in the light that God gives us, have confidence in the light that is within our tradition, have confidence in the light that you have. Be healed and then be a beacon. The world needs beacons of love and acceptance, let that be your move in this distressing world. You are a beacon. You have the potential to share the healing truth. To God be the glory. Amen.